What's going on, everyone? I'm Taylor Ludwig with another Poor Man's Workshop video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this decorative peg wall. It's really cool. It allows us to be able to keep everything that we want displayed out in the open in our own home, as well as it's modular, so it can move around and you can set it up the way you want it to be set up. So stick around because the video is coming up. So before we could start this project, we had to take down the shelves that were in this spot originally. These shelves were just made out of pine board and some industrial piping. I made these a couple years ago and they've served their purpose. We wanted something a little bit more flexible when it came to what we wanted to put in this space. Once the shelves were gone, I just did some patchwork and measuring to make sure the dimensions were correct. We really lucked out with this project because this section fits two 4x8 sheets of plywood perfectly, with the exception of having to cut a hole for the plug. So it's going to make this project really easy. Plywood that I'm using is pre-finished birch plywood. It just makes it so that I don't have to finish it after the fact. Them pre-finishing it is much better than I would be able to do it after all the holes are drilled. The first thing that I did was measured and cut where the plug was going to be coming through. It's easiest to do this by drilling a hole and then cutting it out with a jigsaw. The next thing to do is to mark where all the holes will be drilled for the pegs. This process is a little tedious, but obviously it's important to make sure that the holes are lined up straight or else it's going to bug you. I've seen a few different ways of doing this. Obviously I've seen it done the way that I'm doing it, where I'm just measuring and then marking where I want those holes to be. I've also seen people use pegboard by laying it on top and marking the individual holes of where they want to drill them. Either way is fine. I didn't want to waste a full sheet of pegboard just to mark these holes when I've got a straight edge and I can mark them myself. So I just marked them and lined them across. The spacing that we wanted was 6 inches apart, but we started 3 inches from the edge. Really, you could have whatever spacing you want. With 1-inch pegs, that spacing seemed to make the most sense to us. Now you might be thinking, why are you marking the front of the finished board? But this is actually going to be the back side of one of the boards, so I'll explain a little bit more in detail about that. Once I was finished marking them, I just went through on each cross section and used my spring-loaded nail punch to mark each cross section so that I could drill a hole easily. So now to drill these holes for the pegs, what I'm going to be using is this drill gun guide from Harbor Freight. I've seen these. I've wanted one for a long time just so I can drill straight holes. But this one seems a little cheap. It was only 20 bucks, which is great, but it just seems like it has a little bit of a wobble. Hopefully I can counteract that with manpower, but yeah, this is better than what I can do freehand with my drill in a square. So let's see how it works. Here's a really good look at the marks made with my pencil and straight edge. Before drilling the 1-inch holes for the dowels, I drill through both pieces of wood with the small drill bit, just so that the holes match up. This is actually drilling through the back side of it, which gives me a reference hole to be able to drill with the 1-inch Forstner bit through the front side reducing any tear out on the front side, keeping it looking nice and new. After those small holes are drilled, I switch to the 1-inch Forstner bit and drill all the way through just one piece of plywood at a time. Obviously there was a lot of holes to drill here and it took a lot of manpower. I think this was the most tedious thing I've ever done and it took a long time. It ended up turning out really nice. The holes ended up really straight. Probably took me close to 2 to 3 hours to be able to drill all of the holes. And I'm surprised that my drill gun actually made it. I think the motor was burning up a little bit at one point. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to remind you to subscribe to the channel and make sure that you hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime we've got new projects go live from the Poor Man's Workshop. After drilling all the holes, I took a little bit of a break and I came back and cut some supports that will go behind the boards to boost them away from the wall. This gives the pegs a little bit more strength and support because of the space between the wall and the panel. Then I went back inside with my dad and he helped me get these all hung up. So as you can see, we're putting in the supports on the back wall, measuring and making sure that they're spaced apart appropriately so that they're not covering up any holes. And then it was time to bring them up and get them all hung up. It's best to do this with 2 people, even 3 people. As you can see, my wife is helping and my little baby girl is there for a little bit of moral support. Really, there's not much to this part of the process. It's just making sure that the panels are set to where you want them, level, and that they match the plug hole. And then we use 2.5-inch finishing screws to go through each panel. And that was pretty much it. Next is just a matter of creating some pegs and some shelves. For the shelves, we use just some basic 1x8 pine and cut them down to various lengths. I think we did 12-inch shelves, 24-inch shelves, and 36-inch shelves, just to give a little bit of variety, and trim them all down to size to 8 inches. And then cut a bunch of dowels down to 8 inches long using my hand saw. And yes, there is some terrible tear out with this, but I cleaned the edges of those dowels up with my band sander. Now here's the most important part when it comes to getting this all set up, is actually decorating it. Guys, if you are the one decorating it, I would highly suggest having your wife tell you exactly where she wants the shelves and where she wants you to put everything. Because if not, you're probably going to end up going back and doing it all again. As you can see, my wife is there telling me how to decorate it all because she is obviously the brains as far as that goes in our home. And it's a great bonding experience to do it together. And here is the final result. It turned out really good. We like the way that it's decorated at this time, but what's so nice about it is that we can switch it around anytime we want. We can change the way the shelves are put up and change around the decorations to wherever we want. So we're really excited with the way that it turned out. Well, thanks again for watching the video. I hope you liked it. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and hit subscribe and ring that notification button so that you'll be notified anytime I have a new video go on YouTube. Also, check out my website. It'll be linked in the description below. And if you have any questions or anything, shoot me an email. Again, thanks for watching, and like I always say, never stop creating.